come here from the UK where you have tax, you come to Dubai and most employers are going to furnish you with a house. Most employers are probably going to give you a car. You've got a tax-free salary and you never see a bill. I think that people here enjoy a lifestyle which we could never sustain in England. Some of us have servants or drivers or cooks and gardeners. These are things that, you'd be a multi-millionaire to enjoy those benefits in England.
There's an old joke that the Gulf is a hardship posting. Certain places in the Gulf still are, but not Dubai. There's no question that Dubai is the most liberal part of the Gulf to live. And that's not just liberal in the sense that you can have a glass of wine, but also liberal in terms of the fact that you can pretty well dress as you want, and you're free to go and have barbecues on the beach and that sort of thing. You just don't feel restricted.
No, I mean, it's a lovely life. Having obviously lived in England and never sort of moved out here, only for holidays in Spain, the usual thing. And coming out here, you're never going to get me back to England.
Dubai is one of the oil-rich Gulf Emirates that attract many foreign workers. For every native Arab, there are 3 expats living here. At least 20,000 are British. They started arriving from the UK in the 1960s, and they still flock out here, most with the dream of becoming rich quick. This large British community is a world with clearly defined social types.
We've been in Dubai for 3.5 years. We were in Abu Dhabi for 1.5 years before that. But we've been overseas for the last 20 years. And we were in Japan before we came to the Middle East, and Singapore before that, the States before that, Hong Kong and Pakistan. So I think we're seasoned expatriates. Well, what I want to know is, are we going to be in Tatler again, Bernadette? Like last year? Did you see us in Tatler last year?
I did, yeah.
Brilliant.
No, because when you're walking in through the hotel...
No, it's the other way. I prefer it the other way. I think that covers up the nice line of it. This is how it's supposed to be worn, is it?
Oh, I can't do this one. She always shows off her body at the poppy ball, and we're supposed to be discreet and...
I don't go to Step Reebok 5 times a week for nothing, you know.
To leave it at home.
No, this is the highlight of Dubai, the poppy ball.
And I don't like the
We work hard for this.
Oh, no, Dan. No.
Something?
No. Something slightly more even.
Chunkier or...
I feel like Batty Bat.
I have a 10-year-old daughter, so I only actually have 5 mornings of the week free. And I find that by the time I've been to my exercise class, I've come home, I've gone to the supermarket, I've maybe met a friend, that it's time to go and pick my daughter up from school. I don't have to think about what I'm doing with my time. The time passes.
And these earrings, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. I don't like this.
Definitely not, Jan.
The earrings have improved.
The earrings are better.
However, I really have to be honest, Lorraine, and say I don't think I like this top at all.
It doesn't do a thing for you, actually.
No.
The earrings, yes.
The outfit, no. I think I'm going to go for the bronze.
Doesn't do anything for
No.
Yeah, sorry.
A lot of people think that, you know, as expatriates, the businessmen, you know, they finish at 2:30, they go off to the golf course, and then we just go on with our parties, and we have, you know, a wonderful lifestyle. We do, that's true. But actually, it's fairly hard work. We go out 5 nights out of 7, and most of those evenings are on behalf of business.
For the business that we're in, we're actually doing very well. compared to what we could do in the UK, I believe, because there's so much more against you in the UK for a business like ours. Hairdressing and beauty in the UK is a luxury. It's a real luxury thing that people will only do it at the end of all their other budgets. You know, they'd rather buy a new dress half the time than have their hair done. Whereas here, their hair is very important. They go out a hell of a lot. They have to look good on whether they're at the golf course or picking the kids up or whatever. They want to look nice because people, they care about how they look here. They're always in swimsuits and they worry about their bodies, and that includes their hair. And that goes on to beauty with the facials and all the treatments that they have done. We're trying to build the business to as big as we can on our own, obviously with the sponsor, but on our own without having to have too many other people involved. Building and building until we reach a time where we've got enough behind us and the businesses are running well enough that we can start enjoying ourselves and living a bit more of a life. Because at the moment I find I'm working most of the time. Gary doesn't, but that's a different matter.
I don't work most of the time. Julie goes to work. She leaves the house at about 7:45, and she gets back home at about 7:30, something like that. So she's away for about 12 hours. She works in the salon all day and every day, 6 days a week. She's only young. She needs to work hard. I've worked hard. You know, when I was diving, we used to do 12 hours a day, 12 on, 12 off, 7 days a week. We used to do 3 months on, 1 month off. I don't need to do 12-hour days anymore. So I'm quite happy to lie in bed and read the paper until about 8:45, and then head off down the government offices and do my relative bits of paperwork and things like that, and then just come back to my office, which is here in the house, and do my paperwork, do the orders, send off what faxes, letters I have, and then take the rest of the day off. Well, as you climb the social ladder, you tend to sort of associate with people that are going to help you progress rather than socializing with people that aren't really going anywhere. That stands true for everywhere in the world. You mix with who you want to be. It's more pronounced here, though. There's people that don't talk to me because I'm lower than them. I try not to get to a situation where I have no time for people that I've sort of passed by. But obviously everybody's guilty of it occasionally.
We came over in '69. It was lovely because we'd been in East Africa for years. And we'd go into a shop and somebody would say, "Oh, how lovely to see you." So many people had come from East Africa over to here. I suppose after independence in East Africa, they were offered jobs here. And it was a smallish community, and if you couldn't find something in the shops, you just say, they say, "Oh, I think I saw it in such and such a shop." And you would go and look. It was very friendly.
Do you remember the first camel race in Dubai, which went along the front, on the beach?
In front of us?
Yes,
in front of our
yes.
In front of our houses. We got photographs.
Yes.
With all the cars following,
yes,
and
all the cars
the
going
tooting.
But it was the poor old...
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Quicker now.
First time I did with Arthur was where that old petrol station was. You went right along.
But he wants to stay there.
And Arthur said, it's still as friendly, but it's much more cliquey, because it's so big, you can't know everybody. We'll go to a party now and find we don't know a soul, whereas in the old days you'd know everybody.
And you can actually
Drink the water that came out here.
Not that anybody does, they all have these bottles nowadays.
Yeah, good for business, why not?
A lot of people come just for one tour, and I think the idea of them making a lot of money has gone now, because with the course of an event, things have got much more expensive here. Life isn't, shall I say, they're not getting the high salaries they were now.
the first time that we've lived abroad. We arrived just a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Yes.
And the main reason for coming here was for the children's benefit. You know, we see it as a means of them developing a little bit. The education's very good. Time-wise, it's still a lot earlier than at home, isn't it? You've done your homework, finished it all.
Mummy? Yes? Have you signed my book?
Daddy did it last night.
I've come out to open the regional office for Mediafine. We're based in Liverpool. Yeah, the package is very good from the firm. The villa's paid for, the schooling's paid for. We've been able to go and buy a car as well on the company. So, you know, things like that, big costs like that are taken care of, which is very important. Obviously, one of the other things is that the salary is tax-free, so we've got a bit more disposable income than we had at home, and the intention is to save quite a bit. Although it's not a hardship posting, you've certainly got to make sure that you're happy and content in your sort of private day-to-day life, because that then sort of rolls on into your business life and makes sure that that goes on okay, doesn't it?
Yes.
Thanks for having a drink, I'll be back.
You know, there's a certain standard that people sort of aspire to. Everyone seems to have a four-wheel drive, and you know, you've only got to go to the school in the morning and see the range of vehicles. It's quite incredible, really. Makes me quite envious, really. You know, even the mothers, I mean, they all seem to have four-wheel drives. It's fantastic.
I think you find a lot of people coming out now come from sort of smallish homes in England. They come out here to get jobs, and admittedly, it's to make money and for a good life. And I think some of them may find it extremely difficult because here you have servants. They probably never used to servants. And a lot of them, I think, probably don't know how to treat a servant, whether to treat him as sort of, you do this, you do the other, or to treat them as a friend. I think they find it very difficult. And I think, too, a lot of them find, after they've been here a bit, and they go back to the ordinary, normal life in UK, that it can be a bit difficult to come down to.
When we first started looking, we were absolutely amazed at the size of the places. But then as we went and saw more, we quickly realised that that is how they are here. They're so big. So we've got 4 bedrooms here, and each one has got its own bathroom. We've got a big entrance hall, a lounge dining area, and a
big kitchen that you like.
Yeah, big kitchen.
Garden for me. Nice piece of garden.
Yeah. What they call the guest toilet here is a toilet, a shower, and a wash basin, and then outside of that there are another 2 wash basins. So
well catered for.
Well catered for, yes. Yeah, there's
shared pool, isn't there?
Yes, there are 8 villas here, and we share a pool. So, of course, the children love that. We came one morning, and there was a fellow here watering the lawn, and he introduced himself as the gardener. He goes to number 5, and would we like him to do our garden here? So from there, he stayed, hasn't he? He came every morning for a month and sorted the garden out for us because it had been left for 3 months.
Yes, it was run down, the garden. It was all brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you come in, we are putting up.
Yeah.
Going up.
Okay.
Close.
So you cut them off at the top?
Yes.
And then you can train them to go down the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He works very hard.
Yeah.
And it's not expensive either.
No.
Which I think is why you have gardeners here and maids and live-in maids, what have you. We'd never have anything like that back home, but we can afford to pay for that ourselves here.
Yes.
I'm certainly very comfortable living here. Janice and the children like it here very much, and we've got no plans to go back to the UK, whether it's in another 5 years or maybe not even for another 10 years. I arrived in Dubai 17 years ago as a 21-year-old to be the assistant manager of a new hotel which had just opened. And I enjoyed that enormously for the first year or so. But like so many people at that time, I saw openings other than the specific reason that brought me to Dubai. So after a year and a half working at the hotel, I gave up my hotel career, I thought possibly temporarily, but it's turned out to be permanently, to start a magazine. And the first magazine I started was What's On, which is still one of the most widely read magazines in the region. I had a meeting at the Cultural Foundation the other day, and I said that we would see if we could source illustrations for this book, and they're interested in having us design it and publish it. So can you ask Catherine to get in touch with the authors of our 2 fish books and see how much material they've got that's relevant to that?
Certainly.
Thank you very much. When I arrived, beginning of 1978, media was very much in its infancy. We got into book publishing in 1987. We've now published over 50 books on different aspects of life in the Middle East. Culture, travel, heritage, natural history, all that sort of thing.
The last press day is the 19th.
And that will get us magazines out on the 25th?
On the street by the 25th.
Inshallah.
Set in concrete. Set in concrete.
Because we have to do that. The company has grown from 2 or 3 employees when we first started to 80 people working with the company now. Festive issue, that's right. I met my wife here, we got married here, and we've had 4 children, all born in the Emirates. We have a home in England, in the Cotswolds, and we go back there and spend a couple of months a year in the summer, and sometimes we go back for Christmas as well. But we're a lot more comfortable with the children cycling in the streets or going out to their friends' houses here than we are in England. It's a sad thing to say, but it's true. Come on, kids, grubs up. Have you got those now? Oh, I've got them. It is one of those countries in the world where capital punishment is still in force. But for crimes such as rape and murder of young children, I mean, I don't think that it's really such a bad thing. Dubai encourages entrepreneurs. Dubai encourages success, and it recognises quality. I think if you understand that, then you can do very well here.
In the 70s, it was the Wild West. I mean, I suppose you could have come here and sold anything and made money. The reason I came here is the competition wasn't as great. I mean, I came out here because it was very difficult to get people to come here. Came here in 1974, July, in search of fame and fortune, still looking. Came out of Scotland via London, spent some time in London, and then moved over here. Was actually on my way to Iran to run an agency, a ship agency operation here, and just arrived in Dubai and thought, this is it for me, this is far enough and terrific. Let's stay here. I suppose in the 70s, the British manager was the name of the game, and it was almost like a Rolex watch to have it on your wrist. Today, we have the Filipinos, we have the Singaporeans, we have the Indian management, which is a lot cheaper to recruit and a lot cheaper to maintain. And so the Brit has actually had to reduce. Dubai is great for guys in that we've got every sports facility going. We're going to watch the Sevens next week. We've got the Polo coming up. We've got the Desert Classic coming up. Everything is geared towards what a lot of the boys want to do.
The word expat, to most people, certainly expat from the Middle East, is like, oh, loaded. I mean, I know, when I was in the UK and people used to say, oh, you know, loads of money sort of thing. But it's not.
Even but single guys that are here, they're on a much better package than single females are.
It's
they
quite
earn a lot
sexist,
more
really,
money
isn't
out
it?
here
Yeah.
than females. And as living out here, I mean, myself, I don't live in Dubai where I actually work. I live in the next emirate, simply because the price of rents at the minute, they're colossal, the amount of money that you have to pay for accommodation.
it's a lot more expensive. I'd say it's probably tripled from when I was single. So the girls do struggle, and yes, they do tend to have to share because you just can't get something on their own. As far as we're earning more here, all I know is I pay what we can afford to pay the girls. At the moment, they're not paying VAT or anything like that, which is obviously an incentive. And also with the way we work, because they do have commission schemes, so as hard as they work, they get rewarded, and also the longer they spend with us, the more they get rewarded as well.
For me, by the way.
And people work hard and they play hard.
Well, exactly,
out here.
yeah.
But in Dubai, as opposed to some other places in the Middle East, it is very easy to spend your money. It really is.
Yeah, I mean,
very
yeah,
easy.
because if you're somewhere like Saudi, which obviously as single females you wouldn't be able to go there unless you were nurses or something. But I mean, somewhere like that, you're not going to be able to spend the money because there's not the facilities to spend the money. But here, obviously, you've got the nightlife to go out and spend. And people tend to go out for dinner and things like that a lot more because you're not, at home with family anyway.
Oh, he's got a wicked hair.
It's got nice
and
eyes.
it's too small.
It's
probably got white socks on.
What's his name? I know him from somewhere.
Yeah, he's got like shoes on. He's got a good tan.
Your whole idea of the currency tends to change as well.
Yeah, it's like monopoly money.
Yeah, you're dealing in dirhams, and basically you wouldn't go out the house without at least 100 dirhams in your purse, which is
what?
the equivalent of nearly £20. UK money. Now, most people in the UK would
And that's
think,
just if you go for a quick drink.
Horrified.
Yeah.
£20 just for a quick drink round the corner. But here it wouldn't last you very long. So you do have to think of the currency difference as well. Still, obviously, balances itself out, but things do cost a lot more. For example, a night out in the town.
Certainly for people who want to travel, I mean, an expat life, wherever it is a good life to have because you meet different cultures. And that's the whole point of going and living somewhere else anyway, is to be involved in something that's different,
Hi, how you doing? Hi, Pancho, how are you?
I think it's mine.
I think one of the problems is that we have people coming out who are relieved of all the UK pressures and the sun is shining. And you can get lost in this sort of holiday atmosphere. We've had very severe problems over actually getting somebody here in this sort of young crowd that would actually turn up for the job at 9 o'clock in the morning and not be coming straight from the lodge. It's a tough place to hire young people who are committed and not caught up in the razzmatazz of Dubai.
We're here basically to enjoy the time that we have, whether it be 1 year, 10 years. There will come a time when we will leave, whether it still be single or not.
More than likely.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if Mr. Millionaire comes along, then I'm sure
we will not say no.
This is a jumper to the left. With your hands on your
You could quite easily, I think, fall into the trap of being a bit too laid back. I think you've got to keep in touch with reality and keep your feet on the ground. It would be too easy to go over the top and go out every night and go to lavish parties. Even neglect work, I think. You've got to make sure that, you strike a happy medium. Enjoy yourself, but still carry on with work and things. You could go wild, really, couldn't you? No. We're too level-headed, aren't we?
Expatriates approach living in Dubai in vastly different ways. Some people really do intend to come out here and stay for a couple of years, save as much as they can, and leave. And I think these are the people that probably miss out on the real advantages of being here in the first place. You've got to be prepared to spend a little bit of that money that you're earning as well, whether it's going to restaurants or whether it's getting yourself a four-wheel drive car so that you can go out waddy bashing, which is something which is peculiar to this part of the world. Getting out into the desert and into the waddies, which are dried up riverbeds, and literally bashing, bouncing along, finding some lovely cool water pools, having picnics, or just charging through the desert. There are other people here who would save sensibly, but are really here to enjoy themselves. For the past 10 years, I've been the chairman, the chancelier, of the Dubai and Northern Emirates chapter of the Chaîne de Tisseur. The Chaîne is not a very well-known association, but it's one of the oldest in the world. It dates back to the 13th century, when it was originally a guild of spit roasters. You had to be a member of this guild to be able to roast geese for the king in France.
Finally, we would ask you, please, for the sake of keeping this very friendly, to avoid the topics of business, politics and religion. The more popular topics of sex, drugs and rock and roll are of course fine, as usual.
All of the members do wear a chain, if you like, to reflect their position in the association. There are a number of different ribbons of different colours, and the colour determines whether you're a hotelier or whether you're a non-professional member, and if you're a non-professional member, how long you've been in the association.
Through the Everglades. Absolutely. Yeah, we took the airboat.
Really, there's no expat who's unemployed, so we're all earning here. There's no real depression to put a cap or a lid on this place. So everyone is in buoyant mood. People would say it's plastic fantastic, but I've been here 20 years and it's been the same for 20 years. It's got more sophisticated, but it's still the same grand old lifestyle, and it's still the same people, and it's still people having fun.
The window of opportunity is opened.
Can you take it? Well, Emirates Golf Club is where I play. It's just been voted by the professionals on the PGA Tour as the #1 golf course on the tour.
So, who's all going?
I go out there every morning at 6:30 and play 9 holes, and I'm in my office for 8:30. It's just a joy and a pleasure to be out there.
Morning, boys. Yeah.
Well, I think people probably would say, oh, the problem with Dubai is there's no culture here. I mean, that's totally untrue. Tom Jones is coming here very shortly. We've had Cliff Richards, Bryan Adams, the Gypsy Kings, all kinds of pop stars come to Dubai. Michael Jackson almost came, but of course then he had a bit of bad publicity and didn't come here after all. But really, everything is available here.
Yes, money determines your lifestyle. If you can afford to, we've got Tom Jones here next week. If you can afford to go to that, you'll be seeing, there's 2 different shows. There's the expensive show and the cheap show. Depends on which one you go to. We'll probably go to the cheap show if we go, because I really don't want to pay £110 per head to see Tom Jones.
Dubai is very, very tolerant. You can get away with an awful lot. Much more now. I mean, now you see people in shorts, whereas when I first came, if any of us played tennis, we always had a skirt in the car. And I would never dream of letting my daughter or go into the bazaar souks myself in a sleeveless dress. Well, now they're too polite to protest. Well, there was an occasion a little time ago when I'm not awfully brave at saying anything, and I was with a friend, and we saw a girl in one of the supermarkets in the miniest shorts I've ever seen, and very little on her top, and a bare waist, and my friend, who was very brave, went up and said, "Excuse me, I think you're probably new here, but they don't really like you going dressed like this." And the woman turned on her and said, "How dare you say that? We are here to help them. How can they object to what we wear?" And I'm afraid I, who never say anything, normally went up and said, "Come off it. No one is here to help them. They don't need our help. You're here because it's a lovely life and a nice salary." She didn't say anything. I think a lot of people coming out, they come out and they see the sunshine and the life, and they think it's rather like a Spanish Riviera or something. And I think that they're not briefed enough to the fact that they're coming to an Islamic country where there are certain rules. And I think they're trying to forget that we're guests of an Islamic country.
There weren't many of us in the beginning, in the 60s. Working directly for Sheikh Rashid, nobody. Oh, no other Englishman. And, in fact, no other European or American. There were some contractors, the Austrians, but no direct employees. When I came, there were very few Arabs in the market. If you walked along the souk then, the standing joke was, you'd come back to your house and say, "Look, I saw an Arab today." You know, the Arabs will be angry at me for that, but they'll know exactly what I mean. Because the souk is full of Baluch, Iranis, Indians, Pakistanis, everything under the sun. The locals, the Arabs, were sitting underneath their barred gears, that's the wind things, keeping cool, and doing the business. Now, there isn't much change from that now. You think it's difficult to have 20,000 English and more of the others, but no, not to them. They can cope with it perfectly happily. And it's business, and that's it. Sometimes I feel that many of the tourists, they get so angry that they can't have permanent Bedouins running around on camels. Possibly, if we got more sophisticated, we may have permanent Bedouins running around on camels, but, you know, when they finish at 6 o'clock, they'll get back into their Cadillacs and go off to their little palaces. They don't have to show that they are tops. They know they're the tops, and that you may have 20,000 English people or so, but they don't compete with a good local family. I'm sorry, but that's absolutely true. There's no question about inferiority complexes in this place. No way. If anyone has an inferiority complex, it should be the Britishers, if they knew what they thought.
One to go, starter.
That's a good one.
Come on,
1 minute to 6.
Yes.
Message received and understood, thank you. 1 minute to 6. I find the Arab person not easy to work with. They are difficult, but I think you have to gain their trust, and that takes about 6 to 7 months. And once they trust you and you trust them, then you get on pretty well. But it isn't easy. I would say that's one of the hardest parts of life out here. And of course, we do have a language problem, although most of the Arab people speak English and they're very well educated because they go to Oxford and Cambridge in England and various public schools. With the Indian and Pakistan population, then we have problems. In you go. Lead him in. Come on. In. Followed by Singer. Come on. He's delaying us.
Come on.
Come on. Blindfold. If he doesn't go in this time, he's in. Go on. All gates closed, starter.
But you have to laugh about it, otherwise you could lose your cool sometimes if they didn't do the right thing. Being single, I mean, I just don't bother to cook at home. I just go out every night, either in the crowd or on my own, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And when you're regular at a certain restaurant, they get to know you, what they say, and you're treated with a lot of respect. The services out here, I find excellent. If you take the filling station, you don't help yourself out here. They do it all for you, and they clean your windscreen. And the car wash is unbelievable. You go through the car wash, and you come out the other end, and 10 guys jump on the car, and they clean it throughout and polish it, all for about £1.50. And I like that sort of thing out here.
Other one?
Well, I've been in the army here for 11 years. I hope to complete 12 years. I first came in 1981, and I was asked to come by the Major General of London District, Household Division, to come here and run a drill course. I was currently on gardening leave, as I had just spent 3 years in Nigeria, which was the end of my regular service career.
All the way up.
Walid and White, Duncan, I need your spotlight operators now.
Yeah.
I want to brief them. Well, the Poppy Ball was inaugurated in several years ago, before the British Legion had it. I wanted to become ceremonial member, and I wanted to be instrumental that when things are going to go right, they have to be well rehearsed and done right. And I've been doing that for the last 6 years. No, stop. Okay.
How much? Half hour? 1 hour?
No. When في كان شغل هني في موجود هني يمكن half نص ساعة خلاص امشي برا في مراجع بردين انصراف. Okay. Yeah, great. My Arabic became, from a colloquial point of view and practical point of view, considerably improved. But I can't read and write Arabic. The fact is, I can communicate. And it's not what you say, it's the way that you say it. And with the Sergeant Major's voice and the impact it creates, I get them moving in the right direction. We'll do the cookhouse, or fall-in cookhouse first, دقيقة, and then اثنين ثلاثة واحد فوق. Okay? يلا. For all that, and throughout the Central Military Command, is wherever I go, they wave, hello, Wakil, David, or whatever, because they now acknowledge that they've been trained by British, and as far as I'm concerned, by the Coldstream Guards from the pedigree of the Household Division. Starting now!
Oh, the Poppy Ball, the social event of the year. Well, it's a lovely, lovely evening. And yes, I suppose it is the ball that everyone waits for.
The Poppy Ball is definitely the most British night of the year, I think. For the British expatriates, the Poppy Ball is one of the biggest, and that gives them an opportunity perhaps to be reminded of a few old-fashioned values and a bit of nostalgia.
What scars are you? 269 9198, Cousin Prince Jai, sir.
God, you're here, boy.
Go on.
I told you, didn't I?
I'd had a white dress made with red dots on it some years ago, and one year I just put it on for the Poppy Ball. And every time I think, now, what am I going to wear? They say, you've got to wear, you can't sell poppies in any other dress. I mean, it's just sort of a thing that's grown. I think one feels patriotic, and I think an awful lot of people feel very sad. And the first time we did it, there were one or two elderly people out from UK, and I believe 2 or 3 of them were in tears. And somebody, the rumour says, fainted. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said she was mopping away the tears from her eyes as the poppies come down and you're in the 2-minute silence. And after it's over, you see, then you sit down to dinner and enjoy yourselves.
True Scotsman will never tell a Saxon act or whatever what he wears underneath his kilt.
I wouldn't want to know what he wears under his kilt. My God, let's keep it inside.
She did. You know, you've got a beautiful back of your head.
Hey, listen. You just take one of these. Come on. It's all for charity. We paid thousands for this. 7,000. We bought the whole bucket because it's for charity. There's nothing finer than the Poppy Day. Charity.
In the Navy, well, when you go to sea, you actually sign up as a board of trade on the articles when you go on to sea, and you actually sign off at the end of the voyage after doing 6 months. And I went to sea for a period of time. And we used to call those relationships board of trade acquaintances, where you sign up, we all have fun for 6 months, we all sign off, we never see each other again. And that, to a certain extent, it could be true of the relationships today in Dubai. I was asking somebody recently, who's been out here a long time, who they met in the last 5 years that they would say is a lasting friendship. And they couldn't come up with anybody. If you do get into trouble, I mean, I have friends who have been in trouble, and we're there to try and support them, but the support was very small when you consider that they must have met a lot of people in the time in Dubai. But when it got down to the hardcore question, who was there to help out and who was there to visit them in jail or whatever, which we did on a Friday morning, there weren't too many of us around.
I wouldn't say that I would never want to live in the UK. We haven't chosen to be expatriates. It's just the way it's happened. I would actually like to point out the drawbacks, which I don't think people appreciate. We're very much at the whim of my husband's company, and this applies with a lot of international companies. We can be moved more or less overnight, and we really have no say in it. We can be transferred at a moment's notice, and very often, and it's take it or leave. However, we have made the decision to go along with this lifestyle, but it can be quite difficult at times.
Well, if my husband decided he'd like to live in England, I mean, I'm quite good at cooking and running a house, so... And my personal thing is that having been a service child and in the services myself and my husband in the colonial service, I think it would rather be nice to do things when you want to do it and not at the exigencies of the service.
I think it's important not to forget home and how you live there, because we will be going back one day, and a lot of people have said it's difficult to go home, having lived here, so...
it's a bigger shock to go home
yes,
than
to come here.
We lived a fairly straightforward, simple life back at home, and we intend doing the same here, but there's so much going on, you sort of get sucked into it, really.